back, everybody, to another episode of Gas is on the Right. No, he's got a chance to win the race.
I think that might have been like one of the cleanest hits I've ever seen in a NASCAR fight.
Side Rick. Yeah, the back. Oh! Into the wall hard goes Ryan Blaney.
And he finally came to a stop. And it was just dead silent.
I said this last week, and I'm going to keep reiterating it. Live with the decisions you make. Drive by the decisions you make. Don't change up your style, but also just don't be dumb.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gas is on the Right podcast. This week we're going to discuss Darlington Raceway with the Goodyear 400.
Throwback
where we
weekend.
where we saw Brad Keselowski win for the first time with the Ford this year and the first time since 2021 at Talladega. We were there, by the way.
We were 21 Dega. Brad's last win.
Yep,
We were
21 Dega.
So we
And
are the good electronics.
we called it last week when we were making our picks. We were like, Ford, it's only, 2 weeks ago, we were like, we're worried about Ford. And then last week we were like, maybe.
Are we?
Maybe.
Are we worried? I mean,
Yep.
I think we were worried about Ford, but just not RFK.
Yeah. And then, boom, fast forward to this week. Ford has 5 out of the top 10 with Keselowski in first. Josh Berry finished third. Chase Briscoe finished 5th. And McDowell was in 10th. And the biggest surprise, besides Ford winning or someone that's not in a JGR Rick Hendrick car, was Justin Haley finished 9th in a Rick Ware car. And that's the only top 10 Rick Ware's had at a non-super speedway.
I got to give credit to that team as a whole. Kaz Gralla finished 18th on raw speed. So Rick Ware finished both cars in the top 20 on raw speed with Justin Haley at 9th place, dude. That was insane. The betting line on that was plus 2,500.
Really?
On him to have a top 10. Yeah.
You could have bet $5 and won $250.
Yeah. So the betting line was solid for that. I'm sure it will not be that way next week, but dude, Rick Ware, it's crazy because I put this on X over the weekend after Sunday's race, and Rick Ware used to be kind of the bottom of the barrel for NASCAR in the Cup Series, but it's kind of turned towards Colleague and Wood Brother. So the Colleague cars aren't performing, and Wood Brothers is not performing. I mean, Harrison Burton, while he's had some good runs in the past, where's he at right now?
I mean, he did get a top
Him and
10
Zane
a few
Smith
weeks
are.
ago.
Him and Zane Smith are let's see who can run worse.
Don't be talking about Harrison, though.
I don't know what Zane really has to run.
Yeah, Harrison Burton's run incredibly better than Zane Smith.
Yeah.
The 71 car, that's bottom of the barrel. You can tell they got that charter from BJ McLeod. No offense to BJ McLeod, but you can tell. I mean, obviously, that charter has nothing to do with how that car performs, but it was seemed like a lateral transfer in the charter with how that car performed.
In a sense, yeah. But yeah, I'm back to the finish though. Brad K finally snapping the 110 race losing streak.
I don't want to talk about the finish. I don't want to talk about the end of the race.
The last 30 laps.
It's great for me.
Like 15.
You absolutely lucked in to a 5-week, 6-week sweep on picks right now. Out of pure luck.
This past week was pure luck. You can't be like, I had
this
a good
weekend
pick.
was luck because my pick was the last out of everybody's until Alan's pick wrecked out and then your pick wrecked out. And then I was
no, mine did not wreck out. He got wrecked. There's a difference.
Still finished in 30th.
Mine just I think it ended up he blew a tire or had a tire go down, and that car just snapped around, and then he rolled his sprint car tonight.
Did he?
down the backstretch.
I
Yeah,
just
I
saw
just
that he
saw
didn't
that.
get the race.
Yeah.
I was
He-
like, dude, you better be careful. You got to qualify for Indy this week. Like,
Yeah, dude,
calm
like
down,
it
bro.
was a vicious roll too. It's making its round on social medias. Check our X account, gas_right. We're verified. We got the blue check. Um, so make sure to check it out. We'll have it reposted there. But yeah, dude, just cannot catch a break. I say my best pick for what I feel is going to be a really good week, and he has a great day. And literally, Daniel wins after a speeding penalty on the last pit stop and the last pit cycle.
It's pure luck.
Shame.
I'm gonna be honest.
I
My pick
won.
this
I
past week
won
was
from
not like
21st place.
Yeah,
my pick was not like the best pick, but it wasn't the worst either. I was like,
you had a really good chance of like just winning
You
in
had a pretty
general.
damn good pick.
I
Yeah.
You're about to take
thought
the
for
lead in the
a
points
split
again.
second, I was like, if I can win this race and get ahead of Daniel after his
Like
5
it's a
weeks.
2 point, so yeah. Well, let's dive into that incident and to your demise.
I don't want to talk about it.
So you had Busher with another crazy move, a second week in a row, where he was split at 5 wide last week at Kansas.
Oh yeah, a pass for the
Um,
lead. That was crazy again.
Yes. All the way down to the outside pit wall on the front stretch to make the pass on Keselowski and Reddick, who were dueling it out, who'd gotten into the wall off 4. And I mean, he had to have a big
Mhm.
run because he was still about a half a second back when he came off of 4.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
he got the run, he made the pass, but then Reddick just had a car. Reddick had pure speed in that car. And Reddick was able to run him back down. And then Tyler Reddick with a true with the laps to go did the same thing that Briscoe did to him at the end of the dirt race 2 years ago. And just tried to overdrive the car into the corner and no chance of it sticking. And then there was nothing he could do to get out of Busher. Which, granted,
How many
Busher got in the
races
wall.
do you think? How many races do you think Tyler Reddick has lost by doing dumb stuff like that?
Is that 2 or 3 this year already?
I think it's
I
like
think that's
2.
2
Yeah,
this
it's just
season
like
I think it's
alone.
2
he
this
keeps
season.
he keeps putting himself in positions that he doesn't need to be in
Well, what there
and
was
ruining
15
his
to
day.
20 to there was like 15 to go when that happened. He had time to readjust and make the move because he had the faster car.
Right, he had the dominant car. He led 174 laps, and he threw it away on a stupid decision.
That's
And
now
then
going
boom,
to
where did he end
probably
it?
bite him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Thankfully for him, he had a great points day to where it didn't completely kill his day. But I
Yeah,
mean,
17
I
stage
was like,
points total on top of,
yeah, but then
granted, a 32nd place finish, 31st place finish.
yeah, finishing on the back half of the top 20, and I'm and right, Chris Buescher was in the wall,
Yeah,
like
he was.
the, and I mean, it was probably had a lot to do with he's thinking, all right, I'm good in this corner, and then seeing Tyler Reddick send it a full send, and he's like, what the? And then
Mhm.
he's like, oh, wall, you know.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
Whoops.
getting
he's
into the
thinking,
wall at
he's
Darlington
thinking,
is not the end of the world either.
yeah,
I mean, that's why it's called a Darlington strike.
yeah. I don't think you can win a race at Darlington without getting in the wall.
Yeah, if you don't touch the wall, you can't drive
You're
the
not
track.
trying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I do find it ironic that my early season championship pick wrecked out one of the only races that I had a chance of winning.
Mm.
My championship pick wrecked out my pick of the week.
Well, my early season championship pick finished 4th, so we're on the cruising a little bit.
But speaking of that, I think that is the most pissed I've ever seen Busher after a race.
Oh, he was.
I didn't know he got mad like that.
Yeah, I've
I've
he
never
is
seen him mad
so
like that.
cool, like just even kill across the board. It was completely unexpected to see him just absolutely lose his crap on Reddick. And I'm sure if Reddick didn't have a helmet on, that Reddick would have probably caught one.
Yeah, he definitely thought about it.
Did you see Ty Gibbs?
But then
though?
at this,
Wait,
yeah,
what?
He posted on his Instagram, he's sitting there sipping his bottle of water, and it's like, I'm gonna head out. And then he posted the SpongeBob meme next to it as Busher's passing him.
uncommon W for Ty Gibbs.
Yes, it was quite good. But yeah, I actually have the transcript there.
Oh,
Do you want to pull the teardown and you read one and I'll read off the other?
No cussing.
Yes, no cussing. We don't have bleeping.
I guess I'll take Reddick.
All right.
Alan, you kind of look like Chris Buescher, so that works.
I was actually thinking about that when I saw him get out.
I am a little bit stockier build, so
No, when he put his hat on backwards and he started walking towards Reddick, I was like, I've seen that walk somewhere. I know. I effed up. I'm sorry.
no crap.
No bleeping.
No bleep.
Hey, Chris,
We've raced each other clean. What's that about?
as soon as I knew that, oh my gosh, you need to stop.
Sorry, I moved. We're really bad at this.
As soon as I knew that wasn't going to work, I tried to back out and the last thing I wanted to do was wreck your car. I can care less about mine. I'm sorry. I effed up.
It doesn't
Sure,
work
as
for
shop
me.
people love to hear that.
Oh yeah. It works for me. We don't have that sticker on our door now. You need to be better.
Huh?
I don't have that sticker on my door. That means more. I need you to be better. We've raced each other just fine for so long.
I know, I'm sorry. Now,
There
I
was
will
some pushing
say,
and shoving at the beginning of that.
yes, there was. We're just not gonna.
And I love that TV had it fully unedited too. So like you have F bombs dropping
On.
FS1.
Mike Joy was like, we apologize for the language.
It honestly was a little reminiscent of Bush and Bell because Reddick was like, "Oh crap!"
Oh yeah.
Like his face.
Well, and Reddick looked like he was about to cry during his interview, just like Christopher Bell did.
I
Yeah.
actually did kind of feel bad for Reddick because he was like, "Look, I really didn't mean to. I don't care about my car. I don't care if I wrecked out." I kind of felt bad for him.
Well, he meant to do it. He just didn't mean to wreck him
Exactly.
or himself.
Yeah. And I mean, I get Busher's claim on it. And you gotta be a little like he's upset because you gotta remember he lost by literally a non-existent margin last week.
Yeah, and then
to come in
follow
this
up this
week
week.
and have a winning
And had
car.
a damn good shot to win this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a different conversation if he won last week. I don't think this conversation happens if he won last week.
I think it's the frustration of 2 weeks in a row.
So that's my take on that. Now, with that said, do I think that Busher was justified? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. But I think his biggest breaking point was the heartbreak that he had last week of losing by 0.000 something seconds.
Right.
And thinking that he won and like, oh, the start finish line's crooked, and then it turns out they don't even use the start finish line. That's just there for aesthetic, and it's just a bunch of crap. And he's like, all that frustration, and then he's got a shot to win because passing didn't come easy. Well, I mean, it kind of did. Chase Elliott started almost dead last and ended up finishing like 12th, and then Josh Berry went from 33rd to third. Yeah.
All of your Stewart Haas cars, except for the 41, came out of the mid 20s all the way up into the top 20s for finishes this past Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, passing, you could pass. It's just you had to either have a good car on the short run or be aggressive on the short run or be able to save yourself for the long run to set yourself up for slide jobs later in the run. Because passing is not really a premium at Darlington. Passing is possible as long as you are conservative on one or the other end of the run.
Mm-hmm. So, which it just goes to show that how important the tires wearing is.
Oh, the good old tire conversation.
because that allowed people to pass towards the end of the run,
Yes.
which at Darlington, I mean, they talked about it a lot on the broadcast. That track is so rough that from the start of their run to the end of their 45-ish lap run, it was 3 seconds different in lap time. That's basically a second every 10 laps you're losing,
Yeah.
or 10 to 12 laps, depending on how hard you're driving.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the better you manage that fall off, obviously, the faster you're going to be able to go and pass the cars that were. And I think Darlington's still one of those give and take racetracks to where it's like, all right, you go ahead, you burn your stuff up. I'll pass you in about 10 laps.
Exactly. And that's what it comes down to is like, when are you willing to hit the go button? And when are you going to hold off?
Hmm.
And then there's those guys that can just manage an entire run and gain 5 spots here and then 3 on pit road and then 5 more spots and 3 on pit road. And you just have a great day of just continuously gaining. So,
Well, I mean, you look at that's where guys, we talked about it last week and we talked about it at Bristol. That's really where the older guys like Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, which Denny Hamlin was just kind of there yesterday, but before Martin Truex got wrecked, he, at the end of every run on the TV broadcast, they're like, oh, here comes Truex marching to the front. Here comes Truex marching to the front. And the same thing with
Right.
Brad. He was always running like right behind Reddick. He only never really let him get more than a second away, but he just managed his stuff better. And towards the end of every stage, here he comes closing in. And obviously, when in the first stage, when Brad and Reddick were racing, Larson passed both of them and won the first stage. But
yeah.
in the third stage, Brad was able to get to him in the lap traffic and pass him. And then obviously the caution came out and Reddick got the spot back, and that's where they started racing hard, which set up the demise of Reddick and Busher at the end. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but like I said, that's just where the experience starts to pay off. And obviously, you saw a short track guy that has to manage his tires like Josh Berry be able to come all the way from 33rd. So obviously, his car's not that good. Come from 33rd all the way up into third place in a race of attrition, just slowly working his way up there as the runs go on.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't really a lot of cautions yesterday,
No,
which is
there was
good
no
in a
like
race like
calamity
Darlington.
at all.
You don't want a bunch of cautions. You just want the tires to be able to wear for the passing to start, because the
Mhm.
first 4 or
Right.
5 laps where you land is where you land, and then you just start to manage your stuff and let other people push too hard, and then make your way forwards.
So, and there you are.
So, circling back to the Busher and Reddick incident, Alan, do you have some of the fan reactions?
Yeah, so on our reels and everything, I got a couple reactions off of our Facebook here. Um, so a lot of them kind of ring the same sentiment, but this was should I use full name? Or should I just go with our first
I
name? I
think
mean,
first
it's on
name.
Facebook. Anybody can see it. We'll go first name. So John says, I get why Chris is mad, but it was a racing incident. No need to touch anyone. Tyler shouldn't be apologizing. It's racing. And then right below him, Jeremy says, Tyler screwed up. I'm mad at Reddick, but I do think he's a good guy and a good driver, not a crappy driver like Hamlin. And then somebody responded to him saying, if Hamlin's a crappy driver, then a crappy driver won the championship last year, which makes total sense. So crappy or aggressive? Chris says racing. Chad Pitt says that he's the new Hamlin crybaby. This generation of drivers are pathetic. I see why the sport is losing the fan base each and every week. A little
Wow.
intense, Boomer. And then somebody responded to him of not to mention NASCAR started in the South and we can't fly our Southern flag at their tracks. Pass on NASCAR,
Oh,
Bubbles, and Francis. Like
oh,
this guy.
how dare they?
So, and then Rex said, when did road rage become a regular thing at NASCAR? Mary said, sissy NASCAR
Forever.
drivers.
I was about to say, hasn't it always been a part of NASCAR?
So, and then
It's one of the
Ubo.
entertaining aspects of it.
Exactly. Ubo says Reddick needs more experience before attempting things like that, but his arrogance will beat him one day. I don't blame Busher. From his standpoint and what he said, it was Reddick being a jerk. Again. So,
See, I don't think Reddick is a jerk, but I do kind of agree with the fact that he didn't have as much experience as he needed to make that move.
Well, he just needed the experience to know that that move doesn't work at Darlington
Yeah, that's not a move that
unless
you
you're
But
a
see,
lot closer than he
that's
was.
yeah, that is true.
yeah. So I mean, he was way too far back. But yeah,
Mhm.
So
seems like the sentiment's the same, except people
Yeah.
people are
are
getting
just
extremely
they don't like the hands. And I mean, I'll give him credit. Rubbings Racing. I look back at the Tyler Reddick and the Brad Keselowski incident about 15 laps earlier, 10 laps earlier, and I
mhm.
would say that is a racing incident. I would say
Yeah. And it's basically the same incident. It just
what Reddick did falls into
roles were
kind of
reversed.
DBC's what an idiot category,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Like if he did it like Larson did and stuffed it into the wall, passing him, and just couldn't get the car to get out of the wall, then you know what?
Hmm.
That's a great attempt.
Right.
But there was at that time, I don't feel like there was ever a way that he makes the pass, even if the move works.
I agree. I agree. But
So another incident we have. I
yeah.
said incident.
Incident.
Uh, Byron and Blaney. Daniel.
Yes, Daniel.
How did we lose Daniel?
Here.
Hey, welcome back.
Hi.
Here.
Would you mind explaining what happened between Byron and Blaney?
This is one that I didn't see, but from what I saw the clip and it looked like William Brown tried to go 3 wide at a track that you can't go 3 wide at and clean Truex and Blaney out on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
For what I saw, I didn't really dive super deep into that incident.
So would you say that that's kind of the same thing that Reddick did with inexperience on the track? Just not
I
knowing
mean,
Darlington and not knowing what you can and cannot do there.
I don't want to say that's inexperience because William Byron's won there, so it's kind of hard to call him inexperienced at a track he's won at. That was just a dumb move.
I I think that it was. I think that it was unnecessary. Granted, at
Hmm.
the same time, I also don't think that he had a car that was as good as
You
those
could do
cars.
that.
So he
No.
didn't really have a choice but if he wanted to make up those track position. Now with that said, um I mean if you just drive it too deep, you drive it too deep. That one is a pure racing incident as well.
Hmm.
I get Blaney's frustration with it, and I'm sure that we will see something out of it as well. With Blaney possibly having well, I don't know. We talked about that with Chastain last year and we haven't seen anything. But I also feel like Blaney is a lot of talk and gets pretty and we all know his temper is like it's 0 to 100 real quick. And I
Especially when he's got a helmet on.
yeah. So
But I feel like, do you feel like Blaney is like all bark, no bite type of person?
I feel like he'll move you.
I don't know.
He'll
I've
move
never
you out of
seen
the way.
him like straight up like get with as angry as he gets on the radio. You'd think he would have like just completely dumped a bunch of people, but I don't. I'm trying to think of an
Would
incident
have
where he just
bushed
flat
them.
out wrecked somebody.
He's a very respectful racer when it comes to in the pack and in general. I think that it is a. I think if he had to, he would. Like
But
because
there's
you
a
remember
difference.
he tried to put the bumper to Chastain and almost ruined his championship last year.
What I'm asking is,
Hmm.
do you think that he makes all these threats and does not follow through to the full extent of what he is threatening?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if
Every
we could
one of
say
them
this,
does.
but he did say that
I
I'll
was
kill
about to
both
say.
of them on the radio.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we're just gonna go with.
He's very. I hope he doesn't follow through with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That would be bad.
I really hope he doesn't. All right,
Yeah,
we're just gonna move on.
his like anger level versus like what he actually does is like here and here, which I do like where he kind of calmed down and in his post race,
In
you know,
his
he took the
post
car
race
back out.
interview,
Say, dear, how Willie be?
I'm not bringing that up. I like it, but I'm not bringing it up. So,
That's funny because we were
um,
just talking about that.
just guys, if you're in here, just keep your eyes on the comments and you'll see what we're talking about. But No, I would say like he's definitely probably. I would say he races him a little harder next time around, but I don't think it's going to go on forever, and he's going to be just like push him out of the way every time, like the Hamlin Chastain style.
Right.
So, but also I don't think Blaney has that in him outside of the helmet. Like I feel like outside of the helmet, he's a much different driver or much different person. So
Agree. We've met him on
Announcement.
Talladega Boulevard. Great guy.
yeah, you spill a beer on him and he still talks to you for like 30 minutes. He's a great guy.
Proud of you.
I know.
We are now going into our silly season segment.
Yes, silly season.
I feel like we need to make a
It's
graphic
underway. We should. We should.
for this.
Coming next week. Should
Because
have
I
been
think
here
from
this week.
here on out,
It's
we're gonna
the
have
ball's
a
about to be rolling.
weekly silly
The
season.
ball
Oh yeah,
is about to be
I feel
rolling.
like this first silly season move is probably going to bust the floodgates wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Emily, what is the first silly season move?
McDowell is going to Spire.
Yes.
There you go.
He is taking
Boom.
the 71 car starting in 2025, moving to Chevrolet from a pretty solid contender in front row to the worst car in the field. Weird.
Doesn't
God,
doesn't
I'm
make a lot of
what's
sense to
that?
me.
I can't, but here's the thing. I can't be like too crazy about it because host of ours running really well. I feel like that 71 team's just not clicking, but you got to keep in mind, we said the same thing about Justin Haley going to Rick Ware last year, and he just
Look
ran
where
a raw
he's
speed
at.
top 10. And he's ran
And I think
consistently on raw speed in the top 20. If you look at the graphic of Kansas of it, where they place based on lap times, the last 50 laps of the race for Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
there's a Twitter account that does this, and he was 11th on speed.
So, can I ask a little bit of a dumb question?
No questions, dumb.
What's
except the
happening
one
to
you're
Zane
about
Smith?
to ask.
I was about to say. I mean,
The silly
obviously not
season
in the
will
Cup Series.
tell us.
Yeah, silly season will sell us. But I
What do you mean?
have
What is
Obviously
your
not in the Cup
prediction
Series.
for Zane Smith? Let me ask it like that.
so
Huh?
well, I
I
have
don't.
my
I
prediction.
don't know. I'd imagine there is the rumors that SHR Gene Haas is saying sell them all, or sell one, or sell two, or sell 3.
Mhm.
So sounds like there's 4 charters up for grabs, most likely. So you're probably going to see one go to 2311,
Trackhouse,
if not 2.
2311.
Trackhouse. Who else could buy one? Maybe Penske,
I think front row's ready.
but I don't. Well,
I
front
think-
row's got can put somebody in the 34 car now. That's open.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think maybe SHR will probably just get rid of 2 and sell it to 2311 and maybe Trackhouse. But Trackhouse might want 2
No, I definitely
or
think
SVG
2311.
and Zane Smith
I think 2311
because they're
is
both
going
signed
to
to
have
Trackhouse
third.
deals.
I think 2311 is
Yeah,
going to have a third
they're
charter before long. Like if it's not next
yeah.
season, it'll
That's
be
what
the season
that's what
after.
we're saying.
Like it's imminent.
All right. So do we think
Yeah.
that 2311 buys first, or do we think? I think Trackhouse will spend the money first.
I think Trackhouse has the money to spend first, but I definitely think 2311 is itching for a third charter.
Daniel Harper just
Yeah.
threw
Well,
one
we
in the
could also
comments too
see.
of RFK buying one and running the 60 full time, which I know Brad does
Yeah,
want
but
to
that's the
expand.
thing. Who's really in the Ford pipeline?
Well, with how
Well,
they've
if
been
you're
running this
buying
season,
up a charter, that's a driver as well. So
Yeah, I mean RFK could buy a charter and be like, "Hey, Noah Gragson, you're coming with that charter." You know.
Noah Gragson consistently running top 10, top 15.
I was about to say
I
he's
think he
been
finished
having a
12th
really good season.
Sunday. Yeah, I mean that 35 points is going to eat him alive if he doesn't win a race. And in all reality,
He actually lost points to the cut line this week.
Hold on,
Not getting any stage points.
we're not there yet.
So, but I mean, who's in the market? We know we have an idea of who's in the market. But I got a feeling
Let me
that
throw another one into the market.
Mhm.
Maybe if Austin Dillon's not ready to hang up his racing shoes, RCR could look at another one to bring Austin Hill up because he is cup ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but with how RCR has been running this year, are they really?
they got to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the 8 car is hit and miss compared to the 3 car, which is miss and miss and miss.
They're great on
And
qualifying
they hit
speed.
once. Well, not really. The one time, and they got
So
one top 10, and it was a super speedway.
I think a Ford team buys up a charter. I think it's going to
Yeah, probably
be
looking at a
Why do you
Ford, a
think it's a Ford
Chevy, and a
team?
Toyota.
yeah, and I think at that point they sell all 4. So I think somebody's picking up 2, and it's going to be between who bids higher, Trackhouse or 2311. Now 2311
Yeah, it
does have
just
the
makes
Jordan
more
brand
sense
money,
for
but I don't know. Trackhouse has a lot of funding on their
they
end.
got Pitbull money.
They got Pitbull money, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, so that's what. Hey, Rick Ware could buy one
I
to
I
put
don't
Cody
see it,
Ware in
but
full time. Yeah. No, I'm just joshing, but yeah, I mean,
but also you got to remember Dale Jr. is still in the market for one.
that's who we really want to see get a charter.
That's who we need to buy
I'm telling you, I
because
really
I
Yeah.
don't
bet if he
think.
buys it, he buys Josh Berry too,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
for
going to be a
sure. He's
Hendrick
gonna.
Line car,
Yep,
and it's going to get Tier 1 support,
and they'll get
and it's going to get
tier 1
NASCAR
support from
favoritism,
Chevrolet.
and it's going to be the most
Yep,
publicized car in the garage, and it's going
the
to
88.
probably win a championship in 2 years
If he buys a
because
car or
this
buys a
is
charter,
this is Dale Jr.'s world, and we just all live in it.
NASCAR, yes.
Well, here's the biggest
It's
wrench in
still
that silly
Dale's world, and
season.
we all live in it.
They could just say we're not doing charters anymore at the end of this charter agreement. Be like, nope, no charters.
And that creates a whole debacle,
Yeah, that's what I'm
especially for Spire because they just dumped
Do you
$40
like.
million
really think that
at
they
the
would
end of
do
the
that
year.
though?
There's a chance
I don't know.
because here's the thing.
It's plausible.
Explain why there's a chance.
The biggest issue right now is NASCAR. The Francis don't want to give a charter system because then they lose a majority stake and control that they had, and
Mhm.
control is always a big thing because then they're guaranteeing these cars and these teams all these things, and that is something that they don't want to do. And I get where they're coming from. I get they've talked about extending the agreement. They've talked about many different options that they could take, and I don't know if a deal's going to be reached, but if it doesn't, that also gives these teams the opportunity to seek out a other series and other opportunities such as the supercar experience, IROC, Wheeling, to run a mini series or something along those lines, to where then they sell out the rights for the teams because NASCAR doesn't own them anymore. So there's a lot
Well,
of
that's what essentially everybody that's got a charter can say. Okay, well, we own this car. We'll take the NASCAR sticker off,
Mhm.
and we'll go do our own racing on tracks you don't own.
Yeah. So there's a lot of bad that could happen with it. Now, whether they reach a deal, I think they're going to reach a deal because it's the teams aren't going to back down from this because this is their stake. This is
Mhm.
their sharehold, and this is all they got. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way it is.
Be a fly on the wall in those meetings.
So,
Just hear all the things that they're talking about.
yeah,
I mean,
Hold on, Daniel Harper just put in the chat.
yeah. So apparently, Brad did an interview a few weeks ago. They don't get a deal done. Don't be surprised that some of the big teams skip out on races next year.
yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things to where if the drivers and the teams held out, they'd be like, okay, we'll just run the Xfinity teams on Sunday,
Yeah.
you know, and that's probably what would end up happening. And they're like, hey, Xfinity teams, I know you run for a tenth of the purse every week that the Cup Series does, but we'll move you up to Sunday if you guys will just come race without this charter system, and they'll be like, okay, and do
You're
it.
there.
Yep.
Just like
So,
running.
I mean, NASCAR still got options. It's not. I don't know. Obviously, best case scenario is they come to an agreement.
Worst
Yeah.
case
Because I don't want to
scenario.
see. Yeah, worst case scenario. Let's just not think about it. Let's just be positive and think positive
Be
thoughts.
positive. Be
Yeah.
positive.
Manifestation.
Manifestation. A charter agreement will be reached with a 50% stake for the teams. Boom. Calling it now. Call my shot. Put it on
All
red
right.
at the roulette table.
So
Right.
who all is in? So I think I saw somewhere that Bass Pro Shop is leaving JGR as a sponsor next year, which kind of points
I-
to the Martin Truex retiring at the end of the season, possibly.
We actually talked about that.
Yeah.
So besides Corey Heim, who's really in the pipeline for that? Because maybe Chandler Smith. I don't think Sheldon Creed's ready. He hadn't done anything
Sheldon Creed
besides.
hasn't
I mean,
done
he's
anything.
finished
Mm-mm.
second 8 times, but we don't like him. So I
I
hope he
was about to
doesn't
say, I
get
do
there.
not want to see him in the Cup Series.
Yeah, Eric Almirola's doesn't want to do that. He's retired. So it's really just Corey Heim, and no one else is really knocking on that Toyota door right now. Obviously, they could snatch Jesse Love back from Chevrolet because he came up through the Toyota pipeline.
I think he's got too sweet of a deal with RCR. Speaking of that, you guys, fun thing coming up with the 2-car and Xfinity coming soon to it'll be a extra podcast coming up in a couple weeks. We have an interview with his tire and interior and engineer to talk about what it's like being on a Xfinity Series team, as well as working with Jesse Love and that 2-car team. So keep your eyes out for that. That's coming up really soon. We'll be posting some promos here in the next couple days. So another fun interview coming up that we'll have posted everywhere.
So, if Truex retires, one person that I thought that they may snatch from JGR and pull up from Xfinity is actually Truex. Just the other one.
Little bro.
I mean, I heard people say that, but it's not too talked
I
about.
think
And I don't think
if
that's a terrible idea,
the
though.
problem with him is he doesn't have the sponsors to back him, or else he'd be in a full-time JGR ride this year in the Xfinity
I
Series.
agree, but I mean,
And right now, with the current model they have, if you don't have sponsors, limited racing. I mean,
do you
that if
think
you look
that
at Carson Kvapil, they saw how he was racing, and then they're like, now people are like, oh, well, I'd like to sponsor him for a race, so they're adding races to his schedule. Carson Kvapil's a great racer, and Dale Jr. is pushing him, but unless he gets people to financially back him, Dale Jr.'s not gonna lose money to put him in a race car.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Gibbs isn't gonna do that with Ryan Truex either, unless people obviously he's won 2 years in a row at Dover, so he's got it. But until sponsors are like, okay, here's this to see him in this many races, and this to see him in this many races. If he can't get a full-time Xfinity ride sponsorship wise, you're going to be hard pressed to get him. They couldn't. I'll put it this way: they couldn't find enough sponsorship to keep freaking Kyle Busch in the 18 car 2 years ago. What makes you think they're going to get full-time sponsorship for Ryan Truex for a whole season?
That is a good point. I didn't think about that.
I think there's an opportunity there with possibly if some of Martin's sponsors move off to him,
Yeah, or
And
wanting
I
to
think
laterally
that's a
transfer to his
possibility.
a
brother.
ladder transfer like what is it, Triple Auto Insurance or
I don't
um
think Bass Pro Shops would,
Owners
though.
Auto
yeah, Owners
or
Auto.
auto
I think
owners.
Auto
Auto
Owners. I think
owners.
Bass Pro is actually going to probably stick with Noah Gragson, and probably that's where they're going to sit.
Austin Dillon.
Well, I
Austin
mean,
Dillon, yeah. Um, running 3 cars just doesn't seem financially suitable.
Do you think that Bass Pro may? Sorry, I had a thought and it died of loneliness.
Today, Junior.
So, but I mean, there's that opportunity. I think that your most likely guy is going to be Corey Heim.
He's got the talent,
Mhm.
and he
He's
has the
got the
sponsor
funding.
money.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw he's running somewhere again in the 50 car for 2311 in a Mobile One scheme.
Mm. Oh yeah, he's running Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville, yep. So they're already
We'll go
putting
talk to him.
all those things into motion for him to get a cup ride, which I think is the clear path that they're going to get that third charter. That's probably who they're going to put in there. But if Truex retires, I mean, that's the only thing I can think is popping Jesse Love from RCR or Chandler Smith. But I mean, I don't think he's really got the sponsorship either. And I mean, if you and Sheldon Creed doesn't either, because if you look at most weeks, Sheldon Creed's running a Toyota car. It's just Toyota is sponsoring
TRD.
his car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I mean, it's the sponsorship question, and that is why the owners are wanting this charter model to change, where that's not that big of a deal, that they can get a guy with talent and bring him up.
yeah.
But right now, that option is just not feasible, and that's why you're going to see people kind of tiptoe into that. I would like to
Yeah.
go ahead and place my bet that Riley Herbst ends up in the 34 car.
Okay.
Yeah, Stuart Haas isn't going to promote him just because he's got money, but Front Row will.
Well, and they're
And
probably
he's
going to
been running
disappear.
with Front
So
Row 36 more times than not in the
Mhm.
Cup Series, anyways, at super speedways, and I think select road courses, select races, really, but mainly super speedways. He's ran that 36 Monster Energy car because he's got Monster backing. So we're going to see 2 jet black Monster cars every week.
3.
That's gonna get
3.
confusing.
Who's the third? Oh, Reddick. Well, Reddick will have the
When?
Beast. And then you'll have Ty Gibbs, and you'll have most likely Riley Herbst in 34. That's a good pick, though, for the 34.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I guess moving
Are you ready to get into standings?
Moving on,
moving to the points.
some points standings.
Points standings. Do we want to do the race results real quick? Just top 10.
Give us the top 10.
All right. Top 10 from Darlington. Keselowski, Gibbs, Berry, Hamlin, Briscoe, Byron, Wallace, Bowman, Haley, and McDowell.
Pretty interesting top 10
I
for
was
a
gonna
speed
say I was
aspect, not a
kind of surprised
weird
by some
falling
of these in the
caution
top
or
10.
a like
Mhm.
phantom flag, something along those lines. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Hey, but you have, I mean, y'all were talking about Fords throughout this episode, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Half the top 10 was Fords.
Mm-hmm.
They're back.
2,
We say that this week.
3 Toyotas, and then
Chevrolets.
yeah, 2. So,
So,
all right,
well,
getting into point standings. Top, are we doing 17?
we can go through 16th.
I was gonna do
Well,
17 'cause
17
of
is
who's
just
in.
really a tab of who Daniel Suarez
Yeah,
is
that's what I
knocking out
was
of the
gonna
playoffs because he's not in the top 16. That
Yeah.
will be a consistent thing for the rest of the year of who's out because of him.
Yeah, that's why I was like, do we want to
Facts.
go through? All right, so nothing's really changed. With first place, you still have Larson. Truex, Hamlin, Elliott, Byron, Reddick, Gibbs, Blaney, Bowman, Chastain rounds out the top 10. And then you have Keselowski, Bush, Briscoe, Bell, Wallace. and then you have
Yeah, the
Logano in
biggest
17th
mover
and
is
Suarez in 18th.
the biggest mover this week is Brad Keselowski, up 4 from last week. William Byron came up 2, Ty Gibbs came up 2, Blaney dropped 2,
Gibbs came up
and
1.
no, he came up 2. He was in 9th last week.
I say he only moved 1.
9th to 7th.
That is weird, because if he went 9th, 7th, it is 2, but NASCAR's website saying 1. That's the only reason I was like.
So
Yeah.
We have Byron up 2, and then Hamlin up 1.
how
Yeah,
far
him and
out
Elliott
is
flopped.
Josh Berry up to
He
21st?
jumped up to 21st, so I think he's leading the rookie standings now. I think Hosafar dropped to 25th, I believe.
Zane Smith dropped 1
Zane
He
Smith is
dropped a
to
spot.
35th.
35th. There's one charter below him, and that's the 16
Daniel
and
Space.
37th. Yeah, he dropped a spot to Kaz
Mhm.
Gralla.
Yep.
Oh,
the
oh my
15.
God, Kaz Gralla hasn't even raced all the races.
Well, the 15 car in general.
Are you in owner's points? Or driver points?
Or driver points, sorry. Yeah, he dropped a
To someone
place.
who hasn't raced all the races in a Rick Ware car.
I didn't know that my little comment was going to make this.
That's a little shocking. Yeah,
Why do you think that
I
is?
mean, he's
What
above
do you
Jimmy
think is the
Johnson.
reason for his? What do you think is the reason for his poor performance?
I honestly could not tell you.
I think it's because he's not a Spire driver. He's not getting
Mm-hmm.
the insights. He's not getting the information. He's having to basically figure it out on his own a little more so than LaJoy and Hocevar, and he can't look to Trackhouse for that help either because technically they're not on the same team. So he's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of a lone wolf. It's like Harrison
He's the
Burton a little
redheaded
bit.
stepchild.
But do you think that
Mm-hmm.
they've kind of
Well, I mean,
dimmed
Harrison
him,
Burton's running
just
better.
leaving him out there on his own like that?
I don't think so because Zane Smith has the talent. I mean,
Mhm.
isn't he
What's
as
the
a former
talent
truck
without
champion?
support in a sense?
So, yeah,
I mean, he should be running better than what he is running.
yeah, he should be running a lot better. But that is an abysmal season. Like that's a Noah Gragson 42-esque season.
Exactly.
And he's actually performing worse than Gragson did at this point, and this is where Gragson was formally released due to some poor behavioral choices after getting knocked in the face by Ross Chastain.
Do we feel like he deserved
All right.
that?
It's like pre-karma was the Chastain punch.
Oh my gosh.
Emily, read me some all-star format of how it's going to work.
I thought we were making our picks first.
Now we'll do that last.
Oh gosh. Sorry, I have to get my reading voice on. So, the signature new element in this season's format centers around tire type and atonement. I have to say that really slow because I will.
Allotment.
You're
Allotment.
right. There you go. That's why I had to say it slow because I still would have said the wrong word.
Oh, this is for you, Daniel.
So there's
We are.
potentials. There's a potential of 3 different tire types to be used: the prime, option, and wet weather. So for the prime, that's going to be the baseline tire assessed in last month, but made with the same rubber as the wet weather tire, making it a softer tire with more grip and faster wear. That was definitely something I read from the option.
Yeah.
Ignore
I knew
me.
what you meant.
Okay. So the primary tire, I'm just going to...
I'm like having trouble reading off of this tiny little iPad that Alan provided me.
The primary tire is a normal tire. It's basically a short track
Yeah,
tire.
a brick.
Yes. Now, the option is going to be a slick tire made with the same rubber as the wet weather. And then the wet weather, obviously, is the wet weather tire. I feel like that's
It's
pretty
basically a grooved
self-explanatory.
like the grooved wet weather tire, except it's a slick
Yeah.
Yeah.
instead of the groove.
Now there are certain parameters on how they can be ran and when they can be ran.
Now, just an interesting tidbit. So the lettering will be different on each of them. You'll have yellow for the prime, red for the options, and white for the wet weather.
Was it supposed to rain?
Just in case, because you can run a short track package.
Mm-hmm.
Wet weather.
Yeah.
So
Now, can you explain, what does that mean when you say you can run a short track package with the wet weather?
well, the wet weather tires are made for short tracks. So that way we can run in damp conditions. So that's why they're saying there's technically 3 tires you can run,
But you
but you would
can't.
only run the actual wet weather tire in wet weather
If it was
conditions.
wet.
Okay,
But
that's what I thought, but then you just made it sound like we
the
could run it in dry weather conditions.
the red letter tire, which is the option tire, is a wet weather tire
Basically the
without
same
tread.
thing.
It's that
It's
softer
just a slick
compound
version.
that gives it more grip, but it's a slick. So
Okay.
that's what a wet weather is. It's a softer compound, but with treading to give it more grip. But the option tire is just a slick version of that. So no tread, but softer compound to create more grip and more tire wear.
But you run it in dry.
Yes.
Okay.
So now there are parameters to when they can run. So it'll start out for practice qualifying, heat races, and the open. The teams will be allotted 3 sets of prime tires and 2 sets of option tires
But for the actual race,
for the actual race.
you'll get 2 sets each of primes and options.
So 4 sets.
So I don't get why they're saying there's 3 options.
It's if it's
Because
wet.
the wet weather in
rains.
case it rains.
Only if it
But
rains.
they're only really getting
So that's
2.
Yes.
That's what confused me because I'm like, why are we saying when they're getting 3? They're only getting 2.
The more you get of something, the better it sounds. So all 4 tires on the car must be the same style tire.
Dang,
So
you know how fun that
you
would
can't
be?
run 2 primes and 2 options. It has to all either be primes or options.
That would be a lot of fun.
The prime tire will be used during both qualifying sessions. For practice, the heat races, and the open race, teams will have the option to start on either type of tire. But for the All-Star race, the actual event, they have to start on the option tire, which this tells me that this is NASCAR and Goodyear's tire test in live action to see if this tire is what they need for the short track.
Is that why they're
That's
making
why
you
there's an
start on the option?
That's why there's an option tire. Because they did this back in
wouldn't they just
2017
make
with
you-
Charlotte.
My question then is why wouldn't they just make them?
They don't want calamity. They don't want the calamity
Yeah.
like Bristol had. But they
Yeah, so they're
want
not
to see
making
if this
them
tire
run
does
the
it.
option tire the whole time in case it blows out in 20 laps. And they have a 200 lap race and they're only giving them 4 sets of them.
But what I don't get is like for practice heat races and obviously the All-Star Open, they're running the option, but for qualifying, they're making them run the prime
Because there's
and
no
then
fall
switch
off on the
back
prime
to the
tire.
option.
There's no fall off on the prime tires.
Okay,
They
that
want
does
the
make
most-
a little more sense.
Yeah.
There.
That way you get the most for your buck.
Yeah,
But-
out of your tire.
Yeah. But the option tire, the main thing about that is you can use it up and actually kind of gain more because of the grippiness. So you should also be able to run more than one lane. So it's going to be
In theory.
in theory. But that's the whole point of this option tire is this is NASCAR's live action test with more than 3 cars on a track.
How do you think it would?
Yeah.
How do you think it's gonna go?
I think it's going to be I look back at where did we race the wet weather tire this year? Was it
Martinsville.
Richmond? Was it Martinsville?
Martinsville, I thought.
It was one of the early short tracks.
Mhm.
One of those.
But I would say that we're going to see something like how racy it was with those,
Mhm.
but in a smaller format. Because here's the other thing: is you got to remember, more of these tracks are a little more level than North Wilkesboro is.
Right.
North
Oh, yeah, it's
Wilkesboro is
uphill
an
and
uphill
downhill.
back stretch and a downhill front stretch. So there's going to be a lot different running today. But it's going to be interesting to see how that goes with the tire. Now, for the formatting of the race in general, the tire's the big thing. The format's as usual, as what it normally has been. So they'll have the qualifying and the pit crew challenge, which the pit crew challenge they will run one full lap at speed, and on the second lap proceed to one of the two NASCAR designated pit stalls for a 4-tire stop with mock fuel delivery. When the pit stop is complete, the cars will exit pit road and race back to the checkered. It doesn't say if there's a pit road speed, but the total elapsed time from green to checkered, the qualifying time will be the total elapsed time from green flag to checkered flag, including the pit crew challenge. Now, the way it works is the fastest stop gets first box selection. So just because you won, technically just because you won the pole doesn't necessarily mean that you get first
Won.
selection on pit road.
Hmm.
So, but that'll
Your
be
incentive, if you want good pit stops all day, have the fastest one.
yes.
Watch it be one of the open teams does that, and
Get
then they
that.
don't make the All-Star race.
So, but then that's Friday night. So we have racing all weekend. Saturday night will feature two 60-lap heat races that will determine the starting lineup for the All-Star race. There will be a caution at lap 30, and the teams must perform a 4-tire stop. Heat 1 will establish the inside row. Heat 2 will establish the outside row. And then Sunday night, you have a 100-lap open race for your final two competitors to get into the All-Star race. And then you have the 200-lap All-Star race.
Wow.
So now with that said, the only provisions are last year winners, this year winners, and former champions are the only provisionals that are guaranteed a spot in the All-Star race. And I think it's a
So we have
24-car
the
field.
So do we want to go over
Yeah.
who has been locked in to the All-Star race real quick?
Yes.
Allmendinger, Bell, Blaney, Busher, Bush, Byron, Chastain, Elliott, SVG, Hamlin, Keselowski, Larson/Harvick. Hold off on that one, actually. Logano, McDowell, Reddick, Stenhouse, Suarez, and Truex. Now, one thing that Daniel Harper just said in the chat, said he heard on XM radio today that if Larson runs long at Indy and can't make it back for the All-Star, Harvick can't race the 5-car in the All-Star because past championships and All-Star winners have to be full-time to get provisional.
I think since they know on Sunday, they'll know Sunday whether he's going to make it back or not. They can throw the 5-car in the open, and Kevin Harvick can definitely win the open and the 5-car.
I mean, yeah,
And
that's a
race in.
possibility.
Well, I'm also intrigued if Hendrick will take the chance because SVG is guaranteed a spot, but he doesn't have a ride. Colleague's not bringing him a car. So kind of makes you wonder if he may be on
Yeah.
standby.
For who?
I would rather have
Ah,
Allmendinger.
wait.
Oh, I'd rather have all. I think, I mean, I don't see why they don't bring him a car anyways for SVG.
Yeah.
I
That
would
doesn't,
bring
Yeah.
SVG a
that
car.
that tells you kind of the situation that Colleague may be in right now, though,
What do you mean?
with their Cup Series financials.
Mm-hmm.
It
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
seem
why
like
isn't
they're
Trackhouse bringing him a car?
that too. Why don't you bring the 91 back? It's a shame. It's honestly a shame.
Interesting.
So that is
We
NASCAR
had no
roots
Project
with a
91
whole
this year.
entire. Well, you have NASCAR roots in North Wilkesboro and a whole entire country in SVG that you are just leaving out. The marketing that is
Mhm.
there and available that's being left on the table makes me wish that I had a cup car that I could put SVG in. So
I was like, I'm gonna find a way.
I'm not. The bank
We
will
ain't got
not
that
let
kind of
me do
money.
that.
We're gonna play the
So
lottery tonight.
Do you think your
yeah,
work? Do you think your work would like to sponsor a race car?
yeah. Let me call my boss. So,
Actually,
but yes, the All-Star race. I'm excited because of the kind of the nuances that are this weekend and that come with these type of racing, this type of race and exhibition race when it comes to like what you can and can't do, what they're gonna do. I'm excited for the tire situation, especially because I was worried when they announced this that we weren't going to see anybody really run the option tire, but because they have to start
Hmm.
on the option tire, there's no choice.
I think they'll run it just to play part in the gimmick, so to speak. Just
Yeah.
just to run it and play into NASCAR. I really don't want to call it a gimmick because I mean it's kind of a neat idea, but it basically is a gimmick. Um, so let's get into our picks for the All-Star race. But important to note in our picks for the All-Star race that since this is an exhibition race, even if you've already picked a driver, they are eligible to be picked again.
All picks eligible.
so
So
question: if one of us picks
everybody,
Larson and Larson
well,
doesn't
that's
make
my
it, do
next
we
thing is
automatically
I'm picking
default?
first. I'm picking first. So
I feel like
my
he's gonna
pick
pick
is going to
Larson.
be Kyle Larson. So, but here's my proposal is I pick Larson in a secondary option, which you can also pick my secondary option. But if Larson doesn't race and we have the same secondary option, you have to have a secondary option as well to defer because I do get to
You
pick
made that
first.
so confusing.
Okay, how about this? I'll one up you on it. You can pick Larson, but you have to run if he doesn't race, you can run whoever runs the 5 car,
That's what I thought
which will
we
probably
would
be
do.
Harvick.
Yeah, but then it would probably
No,
be
because he
Harvick.
has to race into the open and he has to start all the way in the back.
Oh my gosh.
All right, listen.
Mm.
So
Says the
here's what I'm
person with
thinking.
a 5-week streak.
Hey, all you got to do is beat me. All you got to do is beat me.
I almost did. I almost did.
Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
You got lucky. Like that this past week was pure luck.
Well, go
Hey.
ahead. So Larson's your main pick. Who's your provisional?
I finished second last year.
Ryan Blaney.
Or
I don't know. I
who?
was
Give
just
me
trying
the
to
top.
give you.
Emily, didn't you get the top 10 of last year or top 15?
No, I'm trying to look it up on
I see.
driveraverages.com. Hold on.
Bubba Wallace.
Please pause for station
Oh my
identification.
gosh, yeah.
Followed by Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs, and Joey Logano, rounding out the top 10.
Is Hamlin in the top 10?
Nope.
No. Hamlin finished top 15.
All right. Larson
You picked
Hamlin.
Larson Hamlin. All right.
my pick was Hamlin.
All right. So Hamlin, who's your secondary
Oh,
pick? Pick Allen's pick to where everybody has to divert to a secondary pick if Larson doesn't race. Who's Allen picking?
Alan, who are you picking?
I don't know yet. I'm picking.
I think that actually would be kind of fun. We have to defer down.
I was
Yeah, everybody
probably
has to
going
defer.
Elliott.
Okay, I can take
Okay, so
Elliott as a provisional.
Emily's secondary pick is Elliott. Who's your secondary pick, Alan?
And then I'm going to go Elliott and Reddick.
Okay.
Reddick?
So that makes it
Finished top
super
5.
interesting.
I mean, I'm not saying that as a bad pick. I was just thinking of what happened this past week.
So there we go. All right.
I like that. That's interesting.
I
That is
do
very
like our
interesting.
secondary picks.
So, guys, do we have anything further to discuss today other than kind of down the guys on the sponsors?
Denny has 2 short track wins
Gonna make it
already
3
in
Sunday
points.
night exhibition style.
As long as Larson races, I can knock Daniel off his high horse.
We just gotta end the streak. That's the key.
That
End the streak.
I almost did.
In the
I
streak.
almost did,
In
and
the
Reddick, of all
Are you guys
people,
are you guys ganging up on me?
Look, all I'm gonna say is Daniel Harper's had probably some of the best picks this year. Next to Bob Pockris, who I think has 3 in a row now, because he picked last week's winner, this week's winner, and Allgaier is the winner. Bob Pockris is on a roll. Just side note out there.
So Daniel Harper's siding with my first pick. So as long as Larson gets back in time, I'll be fine.
You just gotta get Larson back.
I almost ended the streak last week. I will this week. I am confident. Also,
About to
we
get
never
into
went over the
some
poll.
average picks. So
Jeff Gluck poll.
Oh yeah, we did not go over the Jeff Gluck poll, but the Jeff Gluck poll
It's
was
really good.
93% yes that Darlington was a good race at 26,000 votes as of the start of recording tonight.
you think that's just because Keselowski won the race?
I think it has a little bit to do with that, but I also think it was just a really good race.
Yeah, I think
that
there's
is
a
one of the best
multitude of
races that we've
things that
seen
go
all
with it.
season.
So
Yeah,
that's
it
definitely
was
one of
a
them.
nice reprieve after everything that happened after Bristol up until Kansas. It's nice to
Yeah.
have 2 good races in a row.
And I think that may be why it has been voted yes so high.
So, well, we got some good
Mhm.
weeks of racing coming up. We have North Wilkesboro this weekend, followed by the Coke 600, which I'm excited for. We will be in Charlotte for that race, so that's exciting. And then we get into the summer stretch. So make sure you stay
Don't you mean
tuned.
the summer lull?
No, we're gonna call it a good stretch. The Denny Hamlin Bracket Challenge is back this year. Fun fact: TNT will do a 5-race bracket challenge for the drivers, top 32 for $1 million in 2025. So that'll be fun to watch and something good betting lines, and probably bring some more eyes to the sport with a mid-season competition.
Mm-hmm.
Denny Hamlin spoke and NASCAR listened.
Yes. So the
Well,
voice of
TNT did at
NASCAR.
least.
Yeah, TNT. What hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. A win's a win.
Mhm.
That's under Dale Jr.'s control too. Come on, boy. So, but make sure you guys stay tuned. We got some fun stuff coming up. Like I said, that we have an interview that'll be dropping soon with an engineer for the 2-car and Xfinity, and hopefully more to follow. So, if we got nothing else, guys, make sure to follow us on social media. Remember, it is free to like and share a video. So keep that in mind, and we would love your continual support and continue to tuning in and joining us.
You're starting to
cannot
sound like me who can't
talk.
read.
So, anybody got anything else to close out?
All good.
We'll talk to you guys next week.